Hey everyone, welcome to episode 3 of the CALI Culture Podcast. Today we sit down with Peter Moreno, who is a former U.S. Marine Corps Lieutenant Colonel who was deployed during the most volatile time period in Colombia in the early 2000s when there was a lot of drug violence. Peter is going to tell us exactly how to navigate the nightlife in Colombia period to be able to ensure that you make it home to your home country safely. You don't want to miss this one, good people. Without further ado, Peter Moreno.
Welcome to the CALI Culture Podcast. Thanks for joining. We have a great show for you today. This show is all about Cali. We talk anything and everything about Cali, Colombia. We have a great show. We have a special guest today. He is a former U.S. Marine. He was stationed in Colombia, and he's going to give us the true essential way to be safe in Colombia. Whether you're in Cali, Medellin, Bogota, we're going to have an interesting discussion with him in regards to Colombian nightlife and how you, as a tourist, traveler, or expat, can be safe. Without further ado, welcome Pete Moreno to the show.
Hey, Jeremy, first and foremost, man, with a heart full of gratitude, I got to say thank you for inviting me to your show. Cali es Cali, lo demás es Loma. For all the caleños out there, welcome, bienvenido. Y estamos aquí para hablar sobre Cali.
Absolutely. Well introduced. Thank you for that. And it's great to have you on the show today, Pete. We have a lot to talk about, so let's just get right into it. First off, I'd like to know about yourself. I want you to explain yourself, your background, your experience, and even your experience in the military, in the Marine Corps. And just give us a little background of who you are and also where you come from.
Okay. Thanks, Jeremy. All right. So Pete Moreno from Denver, Colorado, born and raised. A lot of people, especially when I was in Colombia, they'd always ask me like, hey, what sabor of Latino are you? And so I'm Chicano, Mexicano, Americano. For all the people out there wondering like, hey, man, who is this cat? Where's he from? So Mexican-American, born and raised in Denver, Colorado. When I was 17, enlisted in the Navy. Went through a program called Boost, which was like actually a DEI or affirmative action program to get more, black and brown in the officer corps of the Navy and Marine Corps. So I was really blessed to be able to be a part of that program. Went through college, and Navy ROTC scholarship, got commissioned in the Marines, and basically ended up in a lot of different places in the world, including Colombia, which is what we're going to talk about here today.
Absolutely. You have quite the impressive resume, and I definitely want to circle back to your resume and the things that you've done over the years. But you were deployed in Colombia during your time in the Marines, right?
Yeah, that's right. I was deployed there in the early 2000s, specific under Plan Colombia. So for the viewers out there, I think most of the Colombians tuning into the podcast, they know about Plan Colombia, which was basically $5 billion U.S.-backed security assistance program to curb the narcotics, so anti-narcotics and counterinsurgency. Mm-hmm. And so at the time, there weren't a lot of tourists down there in Colombia. We were all based out of Bogota for the most part. No more than 400 Americans at a time, and I was one of 4 U.S. Marine Corps officers there, embedded inside the Ministry of Defense.
Wow. Now, this was for context. This period of time was in like the late 90s, early 2000s. Is that correct?
I hit there early 2000s. So this is 2003. So, I mean, obviously it was more hectic, in the 90s when they were running after Pablo and some of those guys, but right. Still pretty volatile down there. They'd blown up Club Nogal in Bogota. I mean, they're regularly, hitting, police stations, bombing police stations, and doing a lot of things.
So I think it's fair to say that it was definitely very, very volatile. And a person with the mindset of I always call them silly tourists, quote unquote, that's
Right.
just going there, whether they're just going there to party, going there to meet women, that person could easily, something bad could happen to that person. That person could be robbed, they could be kidnapped, or worse, they could be deleted. Did you hear and experience a lot of that? Well, tell us how bad was it in regards to tourism. You've already mentioned that there wasn't a lot of tourists there.
Right.
From a tourism standpoint, was that the place to be at that time?
Okay, so from a tourism standpoint, it was not the place to be. It was like a level 4 environment. So U.S. State Department had all these warnings on,
Hmm.
hey, do not travel,
Right.
basically, right? So I didn't see any tourists when I was down there. The only other non-Latin Americans down there would be like our counterparts from the UK, right?
Hmm.
Military guys, Brits. Um, that's about it, really.
Hmm.
So in terms of the danger factor, I mean, military guys were getting rolled up.
Wow.
They were getting drugged, right? And
Mm.
so when we get into country, they're always very intentional about, hey, you need to get this force protection brief, which
Hmm.
is basically a safety brief, an extensive safety brief, before you're even allowed to go outside of your hotel, type
Hmm.
of things. And then, of course, we had a lot of, native Spanish speaking, U.S. military folks down there. And
Right.
those guys invariably, not to pick on my Puerto Rican brothers too much, but a lot of times they were like, no, esa gente son mi gente. I'm not worried about nothing. And they were the next guy getting scoped, right?
Right.
They were on a plane going home, oh shit, I didn't know what happened. Their
No
furniture
money, no
out,
passport.
no
If they could
phone.
get, if they could
Right.
leave.
That's right. That's
Right.
right. So, you know, if it happens to military guys that get the proverbial safety brief,
Hmm.
that are trained, and I'm talking about highly trained guys, right? And not
Right.
just Marines. I'm talking about special operations guys, Army,
Hmm.
seventh group guys. I'm
Hmm.
talking about SEAL team contingent. All the different agencies you could imagine. And so, if these guys are getting had, and they're
Hmm.
smarter than the average bear, just imagine what's going to happen to a tourist walking around willy nilly.
Right. Yeah, and that's a good point, especially nowadays, as we know, the whole passport bro culture is it is very popular now, to say the least. And that's why I kind of want to fast forward now from that time period where when you were there till now, where we have the passport bro culture and the fact that you've written a book to hopefully help some of these men. Some of
Right.
these men that go with the tough guy attitude and the, oh, nothing is going to happen to me. You've written a book, or actually, as you call it, a survival manual for men to
Right.
travel to Cali.
That's right.
Let's first talk about the inspiration for that book.
Okay, so the inspiration, there's a lot of inspiration that goes into the book. So, having spent 3 years in Colombia,
Mhm.
I have three daughters, their mother's born here, but her parents are from Medellin, Paisas. So, it's in the bloodstream. So I got a lot of love for Colombia, la cultura, la comida, you know what I mean? Everything, a lot of love. And when I was there, the Colombians always adopted me. And they would always tell me, like, Moreno, you could be Colombian until you start talking Spanish. You know what I mean? Because I got a marked accent, in
Right.
Spanish. So that was part of my motivation right there, right? Is just a love for Colombia and the culture and the people. That's number one. Number two was, you know, a good buddy of mine, another Marine, exceptional guy. I'll just shout him out because I'm going to send him this podcast. Eric Dominiani, retired Marine Corps major, chef, liquor brand owner,
Mhm.
you name it. His cousin was recently, it was like a year and a half ago, killed in Cartagena. He woke up dead. Yeah. You know,
Mm.
you don't really wake up dead, but you know what I'm saying, right? I mean,
Yeah, absolutely.
he got scoped or he got a sedative or something.
Hmm.
And so my homeboy, Dom calls me up and he's like, yo, man, my cousin got, and I'm just like, yo, I'm sorry to hear that, man. That happens a
Hmm.
lot down there. And then after that, being in Miami, I tune in a lot to the news, right, of what's going on in Latin America. And I kept seeing like this pattern. And I'm like, damn, man, I didn't know people were like wilding out,
Yeah.
passport bros,
Hmm.
tourist wise, all over Colombia.
Hmm.
So I was like, oh man. And then I started looking at the social media
Hmm.
and I'm seeing all this sort of anecdotal recommendations that are helpful, but it's reactive and it's not
Hmm.
a framework that's really sustainable because it's only one fraction, of the story. The
Right.
last part of it was around Thanksgiving time. I was on Instagram and I'm not that active, but I'll be a lot more active now with the book and
Hmm.
collaborating with you, Jeremy.
Sure.
Is I saw a skit. I follow this guy, un Dominicano. He's
Hmm.
got a handle, Tonio Skits, and he's hilarious. He's like a comedian and he does all these viral videos. And he did a video on him coming back from Colombia, surrounded by all these women in Miami,
Hmm.
and he had this look on his face like, yo, I don't belong here. Like he was like, the video was about, I don't belong here anymore. And I made a comment. I was like, that was me back in 2003 when I came back and all my bosses were asking me, they're like, yo, Pete, are you okay, man? I'm like, yo, man, I'm in culture shock coming
Yeah.
back to Miami.
Yeah.
Right. And so, and then seeing like how everyone was commenting to that, like
Hmm.
over 700 people liked it or whatever. And I'm not keeping track of that or anything, but I kept on getting the alerts on
Hmm.
like, a commentary on it. And I was like, you know what, man, I got to write a book on this shit.
Hmm.
So basically, I grinded for a month straight.
Hmm.
I published the book on the 26th of December, and that's a near and dear date to my heart because my deceased father, God bless his soul, World War II combat vet, Korean War vet, etc. He would have been 100 years old on
Wow.
the 26th. He was born in 25, so I was his second family. He was a pretty wild guy, and
Hmm.
so I was like, in honor of my father, in honor of helping people out, I'm going to put this self-inflicted sort of deadline on myself, and
Hmm.
boom, did the book, published it on Apple, the author's edition, Amazon for the other editions, and then Amazon just came out with the hardcover because I'd gotten a lot of requests for the hardcover.
Absolutely. And I have a copy of the book with me right now.
Yeah, that's what's up.
we're gonna put the book on screen, but I want to just for all the viewers, I want you to give a brief synopsis of your book.
Okay.
And you can go as high level or as detailed as you want. But basically, what is this book? As if I'm a first time traveler, what am I going to glean from this book?
Okay, that's a great question, Jeremy. And I get into that and I tell my friends, family, and anyone who's reading it, this first. Hey, this is not a novel. Okay. It is not meant to be read, page by page. The idea is this contains a lot of information and it's designed to feed you information so you can run it fast based on, whatever scenario that you might find yourself in. So the book, the crux of the book, it has 9 protocols. Okay. Um, it goes from everything here, and I got my notes here. I mean, obviously, I've written it, I've read it a million times, but the first protocol is how to stay off the victim list. And so for each protocol, okay, I start off with what I call the transgression of the protocol. Okay. So what happens, in other words, for the viewers out there, what happens if you don't do this? Well, hey, here's a real life scenario of what happens when you do something stupid. Okay. And so in the book, it'll be, real life stories. You can look them up in the news. Obviously, I'm not calling people out. I'm not mentioning names. I don't want to embarrass anyone. But it helps them understand that, hey, this is real. And if it can touch people like this, it can touch you too. Okay. So that's step number one. So after that, in terms of structure, each protocol, actually protocols 1 through 9, but the core protocols, on what not to do are 1 through 7. And so then after the transgression of the protocol, I'll run through a case study, right? Which will talk about the transgression of the protocol and break it down in terms of what happened, okay, what went wrong, and how to mitigate this so you don't find yourself in the same situation, okay? So then, so like I said, not something to read. I mean, you can read it cover to cover, but before I even get into the protocols, I have something called a short list. And the short list is like, depending on what version you got, is like basically a page and a half or 2 pages. And it tells you like, hey man, if you're on the plane, read these protocols. If you just landed, read these protocols. If you're in the hotel, read these protocols, right? And if you have the digital version, you can just hit the link. It'll take you to the protocol, and then you can kind of understand like, how you're gonna roll with your evening or whatever you're gonna do, right? The other thing is that's the crux of the book. And then in the author's edition, my dear friend, retired Colonel Stephen P. Santiago, just an incredible person, man. Dude is salt of the earth. Not only is he an incredible Marine, but he's also an attorney. He's also a professor, and he's one of my business partners and some of the different things that I'm into. And so he's a combat veteran. He's done just a lot of stuff, man. So him putting that forward in there for me was incredibly humbling, and drives home the value of the book. And then he added some what I call bonus material on above and beyond the protocols, different sorts of things or strategies that you can layer in to what you're doing. And, when you think about it, it's a lot of common sense. Okay. Like, hey, check in with someone, tell someone where you're going, geography, right? Like land navigation, like we call in the Marine Corps, like where am I located? So you don't end up lost. So as you start to read through the book, a lot of this stuff becomes like, oh, I kind of know this. Or depending on how sheltered you were when you grew up, you might not know anything about it, right? But it gives you enough context, like we say in the Marine Corps, and this will resonate with your brother, crawl, walk, run, right? So, we get into it gradually and go deeper as we go, okay? So, the other protocols, and I'll just quickly read them off here. Protocol 2 is nightlife situational awareness 101.
That's my favorite one, by the way.
Oh, is that right?
That's my favorite one, just because there's so many passport bros don't know this, Pete. They don't know nightlife situational awareness. They just get caught up in the glitz and the glamour. And let's just be real here, right? The women. Yeah. They forget situational awareness. They're staring at the staring at the body, the eyes, papazita, and then they forget.
Right. Yeah, listen, man, I just saw an Instagram post. As a matter of fact, I liked it because it was in Cartagena and there was all these, lovelies or tenderonis, whatever we want to call them, right?
Right.
And it was just a stark reminder to me. And people used to ask me this, not to digress too much, is like, they're like, Pete, I know Colombian women are beautiful, but like, do you ever get used to it? I'm like, no, man, you never get used to it. Like one is more beautiful than the next.
Right.
That's just what it is. One's more beautiful than the next, right? And so what happens is these guys, they lose their minds.
Because they haven't seen that. In America, they don't see that on a regular basis. That level of beauty.
That's right. That's right. They they're inundated.
Right.
Literally, they're just
Right.
like overload.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, holy crap! I'm in this situation.
Right.
I've never been here. Like, what am I? What am I going to do? Sort of thing, right? So,
Right.
so tell me what you liked about that.
The main thing I liked about it is how you started with the transgression of the protocol. You started with the transgression. That way, any reader is knowing this is what could happen to me.
Right.
This is one of the worst things that could happen to me. Whereas I see a lot of other books about Colombian nightlife or Colombia in general, they're giving warning signs toward the end. No, hit them up front with what could happen.
Right.
This is what could happen is, you could be drugged, you could be robbed,
Right.
you could lose your life. And so I really like that aspect. The other thing is I feel like nowadays, because there's so many social media content creators that are just showing the flash. They're just showing you a little piece of Colombian nightlife, Pete.
Right.
And that is, here's all the beautiful women around me. Here's
Right.
the drinks. Here's the music. I got women coming up talking to me. I got a pile of money in my pocket that I'm showing. And
Right.
they're just showing they're showing the thing that could get them caught up.
Right. Yeah. Dando
And
papaya.
yours, that's why, like you said, I don't the no BS manual, survival manual for
Right.
men, because truly that's what it is.
Yeah, that's what it is, man. It's not a novel, and it
Mm-hmm.
just and you see that, and you've seen that, as I sort of break it down, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so jumping into the other protocols, personal
Mm-hmm.
security protocols,
Mm-hmm.
in Protocol 3, Protocol 4, how to move like a hard target, what that means, right? Protocol 5, you're in a situation, you're in the bar, you know what I mean? And this is where a lot of people they get hemmed up in Protocol 5, right?
Mm-hmm.
Spot the play, make the call, break contact. And it's almost like these men, and this is just, I think, maybe a psychology, human nature thing. I don't know. But I always tell my daughters, I always tell people that I care about, and I'm going to just say it right here on your show. You are the shot caller of your own life.
Right.
Okay. So you can say no.
Mm-hmm.
Mamacita is getting ready to bring you a drink. She just brought you a drink, or these guys just bought you a drink, or whatever. No,
Mm-hmm.
I'm good. Or you feel the energy's changing. Leave. There's a lot of places to go,
Right.
right? It doesn't feel right. You get that sense of like, you get that sixth sense of like impending doom, like,
Right.
something's about to go wrong here, right? And so the other idea behind the book is, how do we mitigate that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And so this is where the book is very much differentiated from all this sort of anecdotal advice, like to your point,
Mm-hmm.
where people are just putting pieces out there. And they're talking well about their piece, but they don't know about the other pieces.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So how does this look holistically?
Right.
Right? And this is what the book is about. It is a framework for, and to the audience, take notes if you need to.
Mm-hmm.
It's a framework for risk mitigation and risk avoidance.
Right.
Right? Think like an operator
Mm-hmm.
instead of reacting to everything that happens to you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And this comes down to situational awareness, right?
Right.
Especially when you're running with, your friends.
Mm-hmm.
What do I know? Who needs to know? Have I told them? Right?
Mm-hmm.
And I, that's going right back to the Marine Corps as well, right? Like,
Right.
tell someone where you're going, right? Communicate.
That's a good point. That is a great point. I want to ask your opinion on something, because I've done a lot of consultations, and just, being young myself, sometimes I've been put in a situation where I'm the sober one, where I am the person with the situational awareness. But I got three other of my buddies, my boys are not thinking situational awareness. They're thinking partying and having a good time.
Right.
Now I know you're a Marine, and there's, you have you stand by the 10-minute, leave no man behind. But what is your opinion on that? When you have somebody who's just drunk, outrageous, you're trying to reel that person in to say, "Hey, I think this is going to be a bad situation," whether it be a fight, a shooting, some women that are trying to scopolamine you, trying to drug you. What do you think about that situation? Do you remove yourself from that situation, or do you try to reel the guy in, for lack of a better term? Do you try to get him away from him or her away from the situation?
Okay, so just like you saw in the book, here's
Mm-hmm.
how I handle that. Okay, you are the company you keep.
Mm-hmm.
Period. Point blank. So I
Right.
don't get in that situation,
Right.
or not now at 53 years old. I don't get in
Right.
that situation. Okay.
Right.
Now, when I was younger,
Mm-hmm.
I would get in that situation,
Mm-hmm.
but I was smart enough to know that I got to get ahead of this. And the way I get ahead of it is I don't roll with that particular individual,
Mm-hmm. Right.
right? And they're like, yo, why aren't you coming out with me? It's like, because, and I got a phrase for this,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's a liability candidate,
Exactly.
right? A liability individual.
Right.
Why the hell am I going to put my risk? Because your personality changes when you get
When
some
you have
liquor in you.
two shots, and then you
Right,
completely
right.
change.
Right, your personality, and then you put everything at risk. You put yourself at risk. You put me at risk. I
Right.
gotta pull you out of there.
Right.
It's a problem,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a lot of times. People go down that. It's a very slippery slope. So you have to be cognizant about who you're hanging out with. And I've been asked in some DMs on Instagram about the book. They're like, "Hey, will you travel to Colombia with me?" And I kind of chuckle to myself, and I'm like, well, I guess there could be probably not me personally, but I could, assign, someone and,
Yeah.
have them paid to go do that. Right.
Right. Yeah.
But, some people are a hazard to themselves and everyone around them.
It's
And,
true.
and, and, and so it's important. And going back to your point earlier today, before we got on the call, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I want to, help you out like you're helping me out, right? It's about having the right tourists
Right.
in these cities,
Mm-hmm.
right? Not these passport bros,
Mm-hmm.
running completely amok.
Right. Yeah. So it's so true. And man, I tell you, that's why I'm so glad to have you on the show. And by the way, I'm gonna have to have you on the show again. I'm just gonna put that out there because we have so
Let's
much to
do it.
talk about. But I do want to emphasize that point. You are so right. To all the viewers out there, guys, if you're going on these guys' trips and you know that you have a possible liability within your group,
Mm-hmm.
you need to reassess that trip right
Oh,
now, right here and right now. It's not to
yeah,
say that you can't have a good time in Colombia. It's that anything could happen when you have a person that, like you said, Pete, changes personalities, that gets emotional when they get drunk,
yeah,
that don't know how to handle their liquor. And we've
right,
all been around people like that, unfortunately.
yeah,
And guys, it only takes one time,
that's right,
one bad incident for
that's right,
for for literally it takes 2 minutes to ruin your life or
that's right,
less.
that's right, and it happens just like that.
Hmm.
And going back to the danger factor, right? Like I mentioned, I worked at the Colombian Ministry of Defense.
Hmm.
And there are very few Americans there. And every now and then, I would see a guy, you know, in his, we weren't allowed to wear uniforms, but every now and again, the different services, they're on their own program or whatever.
Hmm.
But sometimes guys would wander in, throw up on their uniforms, their Rolex missing,
Yeah.
and it was a new guy, right? I'm like,
Yeah.
and it was, of course, a pretty high-ranking officer, like senior
Mm.
to me at the time. I was a captain at the time, right? And then a
Yeah.
major. And I would just be thinking to myself, like, man, what are you doing?
Right.
You know?
Yeah. I don't know if you remember. This has been years ago when President Obama was still in office, and his Service detail went to Cartagena.
Oh, I remember that.
You remember that?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I remember
And
that.
I guess evidently they got drunk. Well, they were, first of all, they broke protocol by going to a strip club and saying who they were.
Right.
That's the first thing, the first mistake that
Ego.
they made.
Right.
Ego. So they
Yeah.
get the girls back to the hotel. The girls rob them. and now it's out.
Right. Oh yeah. 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 Very familiar with that whole situation. Very familiar with that whole situation.
Yeah. It
So
is
I mean,
unfortunate.
and it happens, man. It's unfortunate. And in
Yeah.
one of the protocols, man, I go into, the late, DEA agent, rest in peace. He was down there on some temporary duty in a very nice part of Bogota, actually down the street from where I lived at the time. And he's coming out after watching a game and jumps in a cab, and some guys get in down the block, and it's all she wrote.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
So it's really about understanding that you're in a non-permissive environment, man. And this isn't just with Colombia. It's it's right here in certain neighborhoods of Miami, right?
Yeah.
It's all over the place, right? But if you happen to be a tourist that doesn't speak the language, if you happen to be a tourist that has a big ego and knows everything, if you happen to be a tourist that, you want to flex and you're flashing money and watches and designer clothes, guess what? You're going to get rolled up.
You will. It's not a matter of if you will, it's a matter of when you will.
Oh, it's a matter of when you will.
Right.
Because people are watching. People are watching.
Pete, what do you say to? Because I definitely addressed this a little bit in the live earlier today. But what do you say to the tough guy, the guy from Chicago, the guy from Atlanta that he's tough. He thinks he owns the block. No one has ever beat him in a street fight. What do you say to that guy right now?
Here's my message to the tough guy from the hood or from the streets in any city. When you go to Colombia, and listen to me when I tell you this, you don't know shit. Okay?
Right.
And you will get rolled up.
Right.
Just based on your arrogance. You're outnumbered. You're there in a culture, even if you speak Spanish. Dude, you start disrespecting people, you're done.
Right.
That's the way it is. Respect begets respect.
Right.
Generally speaking, if you respect people, they're going to respect you back. Make friends with the locals, man. Be humble, right? You don't have to put things in people's faces. But at the same time, there's one thing with being a nice guy, but you also gotta be firm, and you gotta understand the broader situation,
right,
of what's going on. And this is where the book comes in, right? So, I always tell my kids, it costs nothing to be kind. Be kind, but also be prepared.
Right.
Right. And once again, not to beat a dead horse, but, this is where the framework, and the survival manual, comes in.
Right. Absolutely. So I know for a fact there would be at least one lady, maybe a lot of women that will reach out to me after this podcast and say, well, what about us? Does this book in Maine will apply to us, or is it just men? So can you shed some light on, is this survival, even though it is really survival manual for men, because men usually end up putting themselves in this situation. Testosterone thing, like you said, trying to be hard, trying to be tough.
Right.
What do you say to the solo female travelers out there? Because that's a big thing now. A lot of women are deciding to travel to Colombia, to Dominican Republic, to Chile, different countries around the world by themselves.
Yeah.
Do these same principles apply to them?
Jeremy, that is a fantastic question. Thank you for bringing it up. And 100%, it does apply to those women. In fact, I've had women pick up the book and they told me, Pete, it's a survival manual for men, but honestly, I gleaned a lot of really good, tips out of this, and it would apply, obviously in Colombia where your focus is, but it would apply more broadly in a lot of other cities. Now, interestingly, I thought about, okay, maybe I should write a book, for the ladies. However, there are some leading individuals out there, prominent individuals that have put books out, for women that are focused on women.
Mm-hmm.
And, under the auspices of you can't be everything to everyone,
Right.
right? I'm gonna let them do their thing. That's their lane. I'm gonna stay in my lane. I know Colombia, and you may have noticed that I named this Volume 1.
Yes.
Right. So Volume 2, I'm partnering with another Marine. We're going to do Brazil. So Brazil's coming up next, and then we got
put that in there. Volume 1.
Yeah, Volume 1, man.
Yep.
Yeah. So Brazil's coming up next. After we get this out there the way it should be out there, and take it from there. But no. I mean, great point. It's universally applicable. I mean, a lot of this stuff boils down to situational awareness.
Absolutely.
Like, what the hell's going on around me?
Right.
And the big problem is, everyone's on their phones, man. Right?
Yeah.
It's like you're looking around at your phone. You don't know what the hell's going on. Like
taking selfies every other step,
Exactly. Understand what's going on around you,
right.
And that will keep you out of a lot of problems, as it is. Right?
What do you think about the dating apps? A lot of guys get on the dating apps to meet women, and obviously you touch on this in the book, by the way, in the manual. But I just want the guys that are probably going to take a trip next week or the week after that or next month. What do you tell them in regards to these dating apps? I mean, obviously we don't want to give them too much because they need to go out and buy this manual.
Right.
But as a whole, what about dating? What do you think about dating apps?
I mean, man, for me, I think dating apps are just in general, they're a shortcut.
Yeah.
I don't like shortcuts personally. Right. Like, I like it the hard way. Like, there's so much. I mean, if you're going down there to meet women, there's so many of them. There's so many beautiful women.
Right.
Go down there and interact, man.
Right.
I mean, because what's going to happen on the dating app is you don't know if you're getting set up. Right? You don't know what crew might be behind, 20 of these honeys.
Right.
You don't know. Right? And then the obvious things, and it's crazy to me, and I think these guys lose their mind. And they, mommy, I'll go to your apartment. Don't worry. Yeah. And then next thing you know, they're buck naked in the alley, no passport, no nothing. What happened?
Right. Yeah.
You know what happened. Right?
Yeah. You're right. No, it's a shame. And I brought that up because I hear that so many times, Pete, that they got on the dating app. When I hear this, I'm talking about people that I know that are very smart and intelligent and articulate. And you would not normally think this is the average, like just passport bro, just going there just to raise hell for a weekend and, cause foolishness. These are like well-seasoned travelers that have got on the dating app and have gotten drugged.
Those are the worst. To be honest, those are probably the worst ones.
Right.
And the foreword that Colonel Santiago puts out in the author's edition, the first thing he leads with, and this is drilled into our heads in the Marine Corps, complacency kills. You think you know it all? You're a global traveler, right? You know everything, right? Guess what? You're next.
Right.
You know what I mean? I mean, you're not inoculated, or immune to the environment just because you travel a lot.
Absolutely.
Same things apply.
Yeah. Great point. Well, I want to encourage every man, and I want to encourage the women as well. Go out and buy this book. So you can buy this book on Amazon. You can get the author's edition. It's on Apple, right, Pete?
It's actually on both now. So the author's the only thing on Apple is the author's edition. If you want an author's edition in hardback, which I've had a lot of requests for, that is on Amazon. The digital copy, the normal version's on Amazon, and the paperback that you showed here on the show is on Amazon. And then there's There's a nightlife operations toolkit, but we can leave that for another time, which is just straight up, checklists. I mean, you can screenshot stuff, and it's very operational in terms of, if you just are like, oh man, this is where I'm at in my trip. This is what's going on. You can just query that thing and roll with it, and that's electronic.
Excellent. So you have options. People, go out and get this book. I don't care if you're a seasoned traveler. Go out and get this book, get this manual. It's going to help you. And it might just reinforce things you already know, but sometimes that's what you need. As Pete indicated, you never need to be complacent. You always need to be reminded sometimes when you are maybe a little lax or when you're not following the basic common sense principles. So go out and get this book. It's going to help you, I promise you. Because the last thing you want to do is be one of those statistics. The statistics are not good. No one wants to get, robbed or, scopolamine, and then you're waking up 3 days later in the hospital, or you don't wake up at all. Then your family is missing a brother, sister, aunt, uncle. It's just not good. It's not good. Now, Pete, I want to know, real quick. We got a couple more minutes here.
Oh, man.
What do you think in regards to? Because I always ask every guest this question, and that is regards to overall the danger level in Colombia. And since this is a Cali show, I do want to kind of keep it specific to Cali, because Cali historically, since I've been going to Cali, has had that level 3 advisory from the State Department as far as caution. But what do you think in terms of? I mean, is Cali, in your opinion, a dangerous city, or is it just a function of how you move and where you go and what you do?
Okay, so let me be careful how I say, or not be careful how I say this. Let me think before I speak. Okay. So, and I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story.
Okay.
So, for my second wife, I got married in Cartagena. And Cartagena at the time was like, I had invited, obviously a lot of friends, and some of them, very highly trained military, guys, SF guys, SEALs. And they're like, yo, Pete, why are you doing that in Cartagena? Like, there's all these advisories out there. Okay. So as you and I both know, sometimes, there's a reason for the advisories, but they don't tell the whole story, because you can navigate dangerous places if you have the proverbial manual. And it might not even be my book, right? A lot of it comes down to how you carry yourself. Are you walking down the street as a liability? Right? Are you dando papaya? Right? You got a Rolex on, you got money, you're flooding the thing. People don't like that shit. We know that. Even here, there's a lot of haters, right? And so you're going to catch someone's attention. So it's a good idea not to do that. So in terms of Cali, I haven't been there for a minute. I haven't been there for a long time, actually. So I don't want to speak out of turn on that. But when I was there, it was a pretty hot, dangerous place.
Yeah.
And we would go there on our way down to Buenaventura, which at the time was a very, very dangerous place.
I think it still is, honestly. And it, you really got to be careful when you go down to Buenaventura. And so, that's good context.
So it depends. I'm going to give you the business school answer, right? It depends. Is it dangerous? It depends.
Right.
It depends on what? Well, there's a multitude of factors, right? Are you an asshole? Do you have a big ego? Do you have respect for people? Are you going to mistreat the women? Like there's a number of factors.
That's right.
So it's very nuanced.
I totally agree. Cali can definitely be dangerous. If any of those ones, you fit the category, any of those ones that Pete just listed, it can absolutely be dangerous for you. Matter of fact, it could be fatal for you.
Oh
So,
yeah, and I would dovetail off what you're saying
mhm,
and emphasize that even more, especially in Cali.
right.
They're not having it.
No.
Like if they would, from what I know from my Caleño friends in
Mhm,
Colombia, you start acting up in Cali,
mhm,
you got a shallow grave
yeah.
that you're going to get ready to tend to.
Yeah.
Straight up.
Yep. No, I agree with that. I think some of the foolishness and ignorance that I've seen online, even as of this week in Cartagena, if you had a group of Americans try to pull that in Cali, you probably they probably disappear. We probably wouldn't see them again.
Right.
And so again, I'm in Cali all the time. I have a lot of friends and other immigrants and expats in Cali, and they're just absolutely fine. But they move different. They respect the culture. They don't
That's
do
right.
the ignorance that a lot of Americans do in other cities in Colombia. So you're right. It is all relative, and it
Yeah.
depends. It just
Yeah.
depends.
It does. It depends on a lot, man. But again, I want to go back to the fact that you have to have a plan,
Right. Yeah.
right? Because if you do not have some semblance of a plan, you're going to fail. You're setting
Right.
yourself up for failure, right? And that's not indicative of the culture,
Hmm.
right? That's not indicative of the people. That's not
Hmm.
indicative of the city,
Hmm.
right? Because there's bad actors in every sort of environment,
Right.
right? So no matter what city you're in, so you got to be prepared on how to read the scenario,
Hmm.
right? So that you don't get into that problem in the first place. And that's why I always tell people, I'm like, look, man, it's a framework for risk avoidance, risk mitigation.
Hmm. Absolutely. Well, we ran out of time, Pete. I tell you, I definitely want to have you again on the show when you release volume 2. I can't wait for that one because I've been to Brazil, and Brazil could be a hot spot too. It's a beautiful country, and again, just like Colombia, the women are beautiful in Brazil.
Yeah.
However, Brazil, there's a lot of stuff going on in Brazil, and I feel like, well, I don't feel like I know. Passport Bros messed up Brazil as well,
Oh yeah.
specifically Rio.
Oh yeah.
I can't wait to be able to see that manual because it's well needed, and a lot of people. In fact, I know of people that got ran out of Brazil by the gangs
Oh
just
yeah.
based on their activity. So a lot of people need this information. I definitely want to have you back on the show, but I do want you to give some final words. And I always say to my bilingual guests, if you will give the final words in Espanol, we would greatly appreciate it.
Bueno, primero que todo, te agradezco mucho. Muchas gracias por el tiempo. A la gente de Colombia, los amo. Mis hijas son media colombianas y ojalá vea el libro, léalo si quieres. Y pues obviamente estoy en Instagram, el chingón moreno, ¿ah? El sonido mexicano. Estoy aquí a la orden para charlar, para hablar. Y bueno, este es todo. Muchas gracias por el tiempo y hablaremos pronto.
Excellent. Thank you very much for those final words. Everybody, remember to go out and get Pete's book. It could save a life. It could save your life. It could help you out of a bad situation. Well, help you avoid a bad situation, that is.
And
Until
out
the
of
next time. Absolutely. Until the next time, stay tuned for episode 4, where we have another special guest that we will be communicating within the next few days. And remember, Cali is Cali. Let's continue to build a community. Let's continue to promote good, positive tourism. And let's continue to grow. Until then, remember, like, follow, subscribe. Until then, the next time, have a great day. Hasta luego.
We'll see you, man. Thanks, Jeremy.
Thank you for watching the Cali Culture Podcast with Jeremy Preston. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you next week for our next episode.